So thank you. Yes, my name is Patrick Dodd. I'm joined by my research colleagues, Dr. Mirzaei, Dr. Peter Mellalieu, and Craig Robertson. So Peter and Craig won the coin toss this morning and chose not to present. So Miriam and I will go ahead and do the presentation today. Miriam and I were finishing up, as you would, the night before the symposium, our slides, and I think we had it pretty well polished. I said, okay, Miriam, let's jazz up the title. And she said, we can't. We've already submitted that as part of the symposium. We can't change it. So we are going to be talking about team optimization, but I hope that our presentation is a bit more engaging than our title.
But please give me the new title.
Yes. Okay, I appreciate that. I told Miriam it would be that easy, but she didn't listen. So, every year, an organization in the United States called the National Association of Colleges and Employers do a survey, and they survey employers, and they ask a variety of questions. One of those questions is what are the attributes most desired in graduates today? And this year, this is what they came up with. So critical thinking, problem solving, teamwork and collaboration, professionalism and work ethic, etc. Those that are shaded in green, we've kind of highlighted as those that kind of work or indicate the ability to work well in teams. Yeah. And so from this, and this is not something new. I mean, this changes a bit year to year, but these are generally what these attributes are. Yeah, they're fairly constant, have been for the last 10 or 15 years. And so tertiary institutes have said, listen, we can help with that. We can help our students develop these soft skills. We're going to teach them the core of the education, but what we'll do is also work towards teaching these soft skills. And what we've done is said the way that we'll do that is with group projects, one of the ways. And so so educators here, how many of you have group projects as part of your assessment schedules? Yeah. The majority of teachers now in tertiary have group projects. That's part of it. And so we throw them into the group. We say, here's the assessment. Good luck with that. We'll see you at the end. If you have any problems, you just go ahead and let me know. And they do. It's usually at the end of the project when things have blown up. So there are some inherent drawbacks with group projects. And I want to focus on the student side. And at the top, though, is the divide and conquer, and that's that's a pedagogical thing. That's coming up with a group assignment that you can easily divvy up and say, you do your part, we'll come together at the end. And that is not a group project. It's a bunch of individuals working individually to come and cut and paste and call it a group project at the end. That's typically not the best way to do it. But there's also some transactional costs around coordinating to meet. But the bottom two are really the issue. And that is free riders, dominators, blockers. So for example, if I know that Miriam is a top student and Peter's a top student, Craig, he's okay. If I've got other things going on, if my lecturer said everyone is going to get the same grade in the group and it's based on that content or that artifact that's produced, I know Miriam's a workhorse and Peter's a workhorse. I'm going to put my feet up and do as little as possible. Yeah, because there's no cost to do that for me, right? I'm going to get the same grade. That's an A. She's an A student. I'm going to get an A too. Yep. And that's the free riders here, right? But there's also, without any mediating, you're going to have different personality types, different cultures coming together. some more passive, some more aggressive, personality types, etc. And all of this comes together, and it's a miracle that there are no personal injuries that come from these group projects. So the problems with teams have been well identified in the literature, and that's just a sample of that. That's pretty well researched now with the proliferation of group projects. So what's going on, and here it is. So Peter and I, we've at Unitech probably 4 or 5 years ago started investigating how do we solve the problem, right? How do we solve these inherent problems with teams and still work towards those goals of soft skill development? And we were looking at the literature again and found that peer feedback and peer assessment, if used in this context, seem to help alleviate and develop those soft skills. So alleviate the problems and help develop the soft skills, especially when the peer feedback and the peer assessment is used to determine an individual score from a group grade. And that's where we started going. And our solution, through many iterations, is what we call now Peer Assess Pro. And what we wanted to do was first identify the attributes that usually characterize what a good team member is. And those are roughly broken into 5 attributes around contribution to task, and 5 around team harmony and leadership. And those, we said, listen, if we have our students, our team members, assess one another based on those 10 attributes, and if it's on a Likert scale so that you can determine a quantitative score from these questions, then we can apply that quantitative score to the overall group score and determine an individual grade. And it's worked really, really well. In addition to those 10 quantitative questions, we also intersperse several qualitative questions, to help support the peer assessment on those particular issues. Right. So we launched that using Google tools. We had forms and sheets, and Peter was the master of bringing all of this together coding-wise. And we found that the tool itself was really difficult to use. It was cumbersome. If a lecturer wasn't really computer savvy, it was a no-go. And so we approached Aotearoa for which is a funding organization that funds educational initiatives, and we said, here's what we have, here's what we'd like to have, which is a web app that does all of this for you. And they said, sounds good, here's some money. We had it built, and it works really well. So we have not only lecturers at Unitech using it, Waikato University, AUT, some at Auckland Uni, but we also have some internationally. And that's what we're aiming to do, is to get as many lecturers using this as possible, because it is a platform, that does actually, through peer feedback and peer assessment, help to solve or at least alleviate those problems, and goes a long way in developing those soft skills that students are going to need when they get out into the workforce. So the question is, and our research question is, can we use this platform that's worked or seems to work really well in tertiary? Can we use that or adapt it for workplace? And that's where we're at, and that's where Miriam's going to take over.
So my research has been in team and project management for quite a while. And obviously all of those attributes are amongst the variables that usually discussed in the last 50 years in team research when it comes to the business teams. But more interestingly, what I found in my PhD and a few research afterwards is the new form of teams. So not only those attributes are good, but also we are seeing that business environment is changing from hierarchical structures to flat structure. And we are seeing more and more self-organizing teams that they don't have any hierarchy, the teams that are not long-standing, they are very fluid, they are very short, they have a short life. And so there is not only there is a need for it, there is more need in future for this kind of tools. We looked outside and see that there are several communication tools to help this kind of new and emerging teams to work together. What's lacking is that how do you coordinate and provide feedback when you have self-organizing team and it's temporary and it's fluid. And also, how do you measure individual contribution in a knowledge industry? Because the future of the work is becoming more and more jobs that are harder to measure and less tangible. So the claim is that not only there is a need, there will be even more need for peer feedback in future. So we looked at the literature again for to find out how the peer feedback is used in businesses. And so there is still literature that shows that peer evaluation in a structured format does help improving, awareness and encouraging professional behavior. Particularly, there is a tool, 360-degree feedback, which is more of an HR tool, and it has been established that it helps improving performance and aligning expectations, and so it's an HR tool. It helps individuals to improve within a large organization. What is the gap, however, is that these tools or a similar kind of tools is not addressing the issue of temporary organization. It's not going to help one project to be accomplished successfully and within the time frame. Just like what we have student projects, they get together within 13 weeks and the tool is used to improve their performance within that project. It's also, so this kind of feedback does not really replace the hierarchical management structure. It's just, helping that process. Whereas if we use this tool, the PRSS tool, we can actually kind of bring back that role distributed again amongst the team members, providing feedback to each other and progressing within the same project. So talking about developing an intervention tool, so we looked at HR and project management because this is the area, and we see intervention tools are being developed using action research. And obviously, we want to co-create a solution with the industry partners or people who are going to be the future users. And that's why the action research can help us. Also, we can learn and test as we go. We are going to start with the existing tool, which is being used for education and has been showing some great results. And we're just going to find out how this will actually need, especially with regards to the questions, how it can be adapted for the purpose of industry. So at the moment, we have established an interdisciplinary team or transdisciplinary team. So there's project management, HR, a few other colleagues from computing, psychology, and design who are not in this conference, but they are contributing to the broader project. And we are working on developing the research protocols and collaborating with the industry, forming some kind of partnership to be able to use the tool and actually adapt and test it as we go. So I'm coming back to the tool.
Marty, if you could just click on that, and it should, if you click on the logo, that should bring up a video, I'm hoping. This video, I'm starting at about 2 minutes in. So what you'll see first is what the student sees. So they log in, and then they start getting a series of questions. And as I said, it's on a Likert scale, with some qualitative opportunities to provide some qualitative feedback. Also some feedback to the teacher. So this is what the teacher will see. This is the dashboard. So we have a progress indicator, and what you'll see soon is, this is just some general information that is available to the teacher. You put in your team results. We have several calculation methods, which I'll not get into, but they're quite interesting, quite varied. And then you can start to see, with a team result of 70, a distribution that goes from 90 down to 44, again, depending on the contribution that person has made to the team. You've got some class statistics that make it quite easy to see underperforming teams, underperforming students. You can validate those quantitative scores by looking at some of the feedback that they've received. You can download the statistics. We're working on a version that is LMS integrated. That's going to be the next big release. When you publish the findings to the students, when you publish it, then an email is sent to the students, they can see that their personal result was a 24, the team result was a 30, so it's really poor. But this is a really nice thing. These are the 10 attributes. This is how they score their self, their class average, etc. They can see that the feedback, and again, this is all anonymized, the feedback that they received. So what we're finding is that if you can go ahead and pause that right now, Martin. That's fine. Thank you. So what we're seeing is that if you have a group project that lasts over a period of multiple weeks, that if you have halfway through a formative peer assessment, it's again formative. It doesn't affect their grade. That all of a sudden they realize how their team members perceive their contribution to the project. And if things are off the rails at that point, they still have time, if it's halfway through, to go, pull up my socks, I'll get, here's the advice that I've been given, and I can move forward with that. And we're seeing that, a lot of underperformers at the formative stage, and then when it comes to the end, at the summative stage, they've really picked up their game and have really contributed. They still may be not performing as well as the top, but they're doing quite well. And some of the research that Peter and I are doing as well as to find out, once you've gone through peer assessment on a number of times over a number of different courses, how does your performance improve longitudinally? So that's where we're at. So for the educators here, this is a tool that is currently free. I would love for all teachers to be using this and to provide feedback. Both Peter and I would be more than happy to provide you a demo at a later date, a later time. Yeah, please feel free, and I would love to talk about this in the break. So, thank you very much.
So, as this is a research in progress, we also like to hear, in addition to questions, your feedback in two areas. One is that, do you think there's any research area that we could, incorporate with this project? And the other thing is, at the moment, we are thinking to apply this to agile teams and incorporate the feedback process into the retrospective. But if you have other ideas in terms of how we could introduce this kind of tools to businesses and what type of businesses you think, will benefit from this type of tools, we'll appreciate to hear about it. Thank you. Yeah, questions? Yeah, sure.
So just in relation to what you just said,
Yeah.
at the beginning of the presentation, you had that list And right at the bottom of the list was, I think, global and multicultural fluency. And, you know, thinking about organizations as well, you didn't have it highlighted as part of team processes or collaborative processes. And I'm wondering why not? Because you would assume that, especially in an organization, a large one that crosses, you know, boundaries, you would have a number of people from different cultural backgrounds who actually have also cross-cultural competency to communicate with other people from different backgrounds.
So what did you expect to hear? Because when we do interviewing students, and that's one of the things they find interesting in teamwork, learning about each other's culture. But the questions in the app is not really directing or leading to any particular culture. It's emergent from the team based on what's in the team. Yeah.
So we're actually at a different conference talking just about that and how we're using peer feedback and peer assessment to help develop culturally mixed teams. And I think that we can. It's quite interesting because depending on your culture, there can be a severe reticence to actually providing feedback or to providing critical feedback. To say, oh, she's so nice, I can't give her below a 4 when she was really at a 2. So we're finding a lot of that, but there's a process that we've developed and a platform that works from a common rubric that says here are the behaviors for each of the, so the 3 for this attribute, this is what the behaviors look like, here's what the behaviors look like for a 5. So it's easy for students to understand, she was doing some of this and a little bit of this. And when you have that in, those tangible attributes, you can say, actually, I can mark her as a 2 rather than a 4 or 5.
Thank you.
Yeah, I found it really interesting. So from an industry perspective, if I think about industry, I totally agree with the premise of group work and needing to teach soft skills, because actually that's what you need in work. It's not so much your academic knowledge or your technical capabilities, because we teach you what you need in industry. It's how to get on with each other and how to deliver the outcomes we need in work. However, my question is really around how much teamwork do you actually think industry does? Because I think not a lot of true teamwork. I think it's largely group work, individual work, and there's only small amounts of time where you truly need a team and the collaboration of a team to get a greater outcome. So my question is, have you explored that space?
Not statistically, so I'm not sure which industry you're referring to.
I work in a not-for-profit, but I've worked in large corporates. So most of when you really need teamwork, so in a sports field, everybody on an individual sports field, hockey's my sport, has an individual job. But for the team to actually win, they have to play off the same game plan and truly be working, and handover points are really critical. So I can see how this is wonderful for that and wonderful for academic group work. But my question is, for industry application, actually you're going to need to be able to sell where they might need it. So that's one part of the question. The other part is just for academic group work. This measures what you do once you've allocated the task. What do you do before you allocate the individuals, so that actually your understanding of the individuals and their placement into a group has got a higher chance of success?
So that is the whole point of self-organizing, because you don't allocate individuals.
But that's not true for industry, is my point, because you will.
That's one of the points that I was making in that slide when I said it is changing. Because as I said, my background is in project management, and we traditionally in project management, you think about the handover points, and most of the traditional project management methods focused on, scheduling and the handover points. But it is changing, like the agile teams, for example. It's not anymore about handover. It's this, when they use the Scrum, they start together, they work together, they reallocate tasks on a daily basis. So there's a lot of self-organizing going on, and we think that there will be more of that in future. So I agree with you. The more we work in a traditional context, both hierarchical as well as when there is division of labor, the less you need this. But we are moving away from that. At least that's what I saw in my research. Yeah.
So that's why we are specifically looking at certain types of content, such as the agile team, which is very specialized.
Thank you very much. It was very insightful. Team projects can be very challenging for both students and teachers. Can we avoid some challenges? It's pretty much similar questions to your second part of your question. Can we avoid some challenges by integrating the first stage where we form teams based on the selecting kind of entry questions or so my point is, can we avoid the challenges at the beginning where groups are formed by introducing the list of questions or personality tests or something like that? Because the problem occurs straight away from the beginning, right? So when we have personality clashes, we all have different habits to get job done. And I believe we can avoid some issues at the very in the beginning.
Peter.
It's a great question. It's a question so big and powerful that Google asked that question because they've got thousands of teams. They spent years researching it. It's a project called the Aristotle Project. And the key factor that came out, of course they looked at dozens, hundreds, thousands of factors and did all the clever data analytics. The key factor that comes out is something called psychological safety. If the group feels, the individual members of the group feel psychologically safe, it's those teams which are the higher performing teams. So yeah, there's all these other clever things about whether you could use Bell-Bin or Strengths Finders or other things to do the psychological profiles that predict how the team could perform. I've done all that stuff. But Google has come out with this very simple formula out of the hundreds, thousands of others. So check out.
So it's going to be
Aristotle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
I just want to share a course I've been co-teaching for almost 2 years. It's called Innovate at University of Auckland. We basically ask students to do like a challenge project every semester. They're from all different faculties, from engineering to business. They come up with innovative ideas to tackle real-world issues and entrepreneurship mindset.
Like a hackathon.
Yeah, so throughout the whole semester, they have to work in teams, and then we'll assess their work. And also along the whole semester, they get to attend a lot of entrepreneur speaking and write reflections along. So basically, we ask them to take the temperament test in the beginning of the class. So there are like different types, like guardian, artist, atheist, rationalist, and all these different types will be allocated as a team of 5, and then they will work along. So we had issues in the past like aging population, and this semester was climate change. They just try to find an adaptation, and then I mark all their reflections, like speaker series reflection, also their challenge project reflection. They do talk about their whole team project along the whole semester, and they get assessed by the reflection. They produce a video, and they evaluate each team member as well. So they can write comments, and they can also, it's similar like what you did. So actually in our university website, in Canvas, we have something embedded there already. So students are using them to test each other. So I was wondering if you know about like this type of assessments actually not exactly the same, but similar things are out there already that universities are adopting. Because increasingly we're kind of teaching courses like this, especially in entrepreneurship and social innovation courses.
Yeah.
So in University of Auckland, we have an Unleash space. That's where we do this course, and we do all these new like experimental courses. So
Yeah, so we've not come up with something universally new or unique. There are other tools out there. So Pearce Pro is ours. There is a tool called CATME, C-A-T-M-E. There is Spark Plus. So CATME is out of Purdue University. Spark Plus is a uni in Australia. There's iPeer, which is out of University of British Columbia. So a lot of these, like iPeer, will integrate with Blackboard and I think Canvas. So those are the primary tools. Ours, we've got some different features and functionality. I think it makes it pretty compelling. But I guess the end of it is, use it. Use any one of those tools, and you're going to get a better result. I mean, that is for sure. Simply, and I'm glad that you're not doing this, simply putting people into teams and saying, damn, I hope this works out well, doesn't lead to a good outcome. Rarely does it lead to a good outcome, especially if you've got heterogeneous teams. If you get a team of people that all know each other, I know Ina, she's good, she's good, well, let's get together. Well, you know what's going to happen, right? There's nothing that's going to be learned there. You're just. But if you put together, a heterogeneous team of different cultures, different ages, different sexes, the whole mix, and provide them a framework, and then to be able to intermittently provide feedback and assessment so that they know where they stand, you're going to have some really good outcomes.
They do complain in their reflections about being put into teams that with total strangers, that they feel uncomfortable, and they're also team members don't show up at meetings, and how they do like online communications were all complaints along the whole semester, especially in their reflection. But they learn throughout the way. But there are definitely problems that students complain.
Can I ask a question? So that happens at the end of the project. The whole point of this tool is creating intervention during the project.
Okay.
And so I think that's one of the issues, because like if you find out at the end of it that you weren't good at this or that, that's only useful for future project. It's not going to impact that particular project. But if you find out how your team is, wanting you to change, you know what to do. And that's going to impact the project itself.
I think we're hogging time.
Yeah.
All right, it's a hot topic. There is more time for question and answers during the recess.
Sorry about that.
No. So thank you very much. And I do have an apology to that. Sorry about that. So wave your